The chemistry.
Take off the wrist tape, elbow pads on the air, boy, look room, wrestling podcast, Rebus, Far Shore, Ron Batson, and Big Mike, just make sure y'all all tune in tonight. Take off wrist tape, elbow pads on the air, boy, look room, wrestling podcast, Rebus, Far Shore, Ron Batson, and Big Mike, just make sure y'all all tune in tonight. Only place you listen, where talk ain't cheap, you hear it here first like you would in the street. Conversations lead beyond the wrestling ring, uncensored on the air, it's time to do your thing. Best to speak your mind and don't hold back. Talk about the day you was the man and held that strap. Boast about your accolades, stretched out on the mat. Hit you with the cutter, go for the cover, that ends that. How many years you go back and started the train? The chemistry's deep, patience, set your brain. These bumps and bruises, we deal with the pain. This is the place for all that, just do your thing. Take off the wrist tape, elbow pads on the air, boy, look room, wrestling podcast, Rebus, Far Shore, Ron Batson, and Big Mike, just make sure y'all all tune in tonight. Take off wrist tape and elbow pads on the air, boy, look room, wrestling podcast, Rebus, Far Shore, Ron Batson, and Big Mike, just make sure y'all all tune in tonight.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Boy the Room Wrestling Podcast. I am your host, Rebus Far Shore, here riding solo tonight. But tonight I have a special guest. Tonight I have the lovely Miss Dani Fererra. Miss Fererra, how are you doing tonight?
I am really good. How are you?
So far, so good. You know, just glad that we worked out all the kinks, and it's an honor to have you on the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm really honored.
So, let's start at the beginning. Tell me about your training. How long were you training before you got your first match?
Okay, well, I was about 11 years old in Indiana. That's where I'm originally from at. And I started as a training in the backyard, believe it or not, taking bumps out there. And then around 13 years old, I moved to Tennessee. Still doing stuff in the yard because right there, I didn't have a ring at the time.
Yep.
I didn't really start getting in the ring until I was about 17 years old. That's when I was first ever in the ring, training in a ring. And then I had my first match when I was 17. So, that was my first ever... I was probably training around seven years, just doing backyard stuff and doing training in ring for about... See, I'm 18 now. For a while now. So that's where it started for me. 11 years old.
Wow, so a solid 7 years. Like you started the Hardy Boys way, doing the backyard wrestling.
Yes. It was the bumps on ground are hard. You don't mess around.
So who was your trainer once you finally got into the ring? Who trained you?
It was actually my stepdad.
Oh.
Who was trained by C.W. Anderson, I think his name was. And he trained me for a while, and then just here recently for a few months, I got trained by Lenny Stratton, who's a big name here in Tennessee. Got trained by him, got trained by a few other people. Did a little seminar for Matt Cross. I was watching Matt Cross do a little seminar where I was at. I got trained by a lot of good people.
That's good. Lenny Stratton has been on the show before, so that's good.
Yeah.
Yep, we've been able to talk to him. He was actually my second interview, actually.
Was he really?
Yeah, he's a good person. Good dude.
He is.
So, you've been a part of many different organizations. How many different organizations have you worked for?
Let's see. I worked for Reborn Wrestling. I worked for recently NGW, East Evolution Championship Wrestling. I worked for Clash Pro in Michigan. I worked for NWA Smoky Mountain. I worked for 2 promotions in North Carolina, NEW, and I can't remember the other one at the very moment, but that's the ones I work out now, so working on some more.
Okay, so let's go back to 11 years old, all right?
Okay.
What was the moment in time, what match, what promo, what event sparked your interest in wrestling and you said to yourself, you know what, I need to do this?
Man, the first match, I turned on the TV, and the first match that I saw was actually WWE when it was, it was really good, like the 2009 area.
Yep.
The first match was the feud of John Cena and Randy Orton when that feud is really hot.
Mm-hmm.
About that time, that was my first match that I saw, and then at that moment, I was like, well, okay, this is really interesting. And then I got onto YouTube, and I started watching, like, the female wrestlers.
Yep.
I really got hooked on Trish and Lita. Those were my inspirations to be a wrestler. So I would consider watching Trish and Lita matches. That would make me want to do this.
All right, those are good people to model yourself after because.
Oh yeah, and I actually met them too. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, I met them in North Carolina at a women's expo thing up there in North Carolina.
Nice. So, which promotions have given you your best opponents?
NGW and Evolution.
I see right now you are in a mean feud with Nicole Stratton, seems to be.
Yes.
Like,
I am a huge feud with her. It's been going on for months now.
You guys are just going, battle scar for battle scar.
Yep, it's going to get worse. On July 16th at Evolution, we're going to have a street fight.
Oh, that's great.
For the women's championship. So, that should be interesting.
So, speaking of championships, how many belts have you held?
None. To be honest, I have held no championships at all.
Well, you're going to July 16th.
Well, let's hope so. I'm going to fight to the death for that.
Hell, speaking of fighting to the death, let's go back a couple of months to your no holds barred match. Now, how did you get mentally prepared for that match?
It's something that you really can't mentally prepare yourself for. You just have to just literally go, and just whatever happens, happens.
Mm-hmm.
Your main goal is to sit there to pretty much tear each other apart to come out on top. You can't really prepare yourself for any of that. At least I haven't found a way to yet.
I mean, because that match was brutal. You just bring out the ladder first and foremost, and then next thing I know, you're going head first into the ladder.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't explain that at all. You can't prepare yourself for something like that. You just do.
So, you just informing us that you can't prepare yourself for that type of match. So, was that your first weapons match?
Yes, it was.
Now, a month. It was within the next month. You had, like we talked about before we started recording, the first ever, in my opinion, that I've ever seen, the first ever TLC match inside of a cage.
Yeah.
And the first TLC women's match I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Did the match that you had, did the no holds barred match prepare you at all for your TLC match?
A little bit. What I wasn't expecting was Nicole to jump off the ladder, almost touching the scoreboard that was on top. That's something I was not prepared for. Other than that, everything else I was prepared for. But she jumped off a freaking 40-foot ladder onto me. So that was something that I was not expecting. But everything else, yeah, I was kind of more prepared about it. But it seemed like that the TLC match was a little bit more, I don't know how you would put it. It seemed like that match was a little bit more personal in that aspect. I don't know how to explain it. Because that one was on a much bigger scale, I feel like. Because of, the crowd differences there. But probably I loved the TLC match. Probably the best match I've ever had.
What was the crowd differences between the matches?
Well, NGW usually has amazing crowds. I love the NGW crowd. It's just that where the TLC match, it was at a high school, so it was a much bigger much bigger crowd, if that makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, it was a much bigger crowd. Like I said, NGW I got admit, people at NGW crowd went crazy for the no holds barred match. I was like, but for the TLC match, it was just a lot more people were there, you know.
So you got to show off your skills in front of a much wider audience.
Yeah.
So, have you had any title matches?
No, because most promotions never really gave me the opportunity to be in a title match. Evolution's probably the first one that gave me the opportunity to be in a title match. Because there's not a lot of companies that have female workers, to be honest, here in Tennessee. And we're just now actually getting girls here, and promotions are starting now to actually get belts, like titles and stuff like that, to get a women's division started. But at the time, there was no company that had a title for a women's division.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but now it's starting to kind of go somewhere, which I'm really happy about.
Good, because it gives you something. Because I hate to just see women as valets when they know they can perform well in the ring.
I feel like that sometimes, like, women competitors really don't get get respect a lot of times, and that's what. Heck, I mean, even though me and Nicole have our differences or whatever, that's what we try to show, that women can do the stuff that men can do. You know, that's what we try to show, and then once we've done that, girls are starting to come along and want to do stuff like that, which makes us totally proud.
Yes, I don't blame you, because, I mean, who else would jump off of a 40-foot ladder through another person?
Exactly. No one at the time, but now people are starting to step up, which I'm really happy about.
So what states have you wrestled for? You told me you wrestled in Michigan.
I wrestled in Michigan.
You wrestled
in North Carolina, yep. Tennessee. Sadly, that's all I've wrestled for at the moment. But I've had a lot of places from, like, I got one from, Oklahoma I want to work for, Kentucky. I really want to go back up home in Indiana to work. I got some from Texas. I have a lot of places that want to bring me in, and hopefully I can take those and hopefully work for them.
Now, here's a question for you, because do you think women's wrestling as a whole, not just in the indies, but throughout WWE, TNA, ROH, all the federations that are out there, do you think women's wrestling is based more on sexuality than it is on in-ring talent?
I do. I think that it's just for, like, eye candy purposes. And I think now recently, like, WWE is starting to take it a little bit more serious than they did. I personally like watching the NXT women better, because that shows the talent part. You know, I've watched a lot of women from Ring of Honor, and I watched it all over. But I think a lot of people just see it as girls walking out with their butts or, you know, stuff like that hanging out, and I think that's what people just see it as. That's my opinion. I don't know what a lot of people think about it, but that's just what I think.
It is, because just like you said, like, for instance, the Attitude Era. The Attitude Era was sex, sex, sex. Here's a woman that could body slam, but look at her, sex, sex, sex. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
I don't think it need to be like, I don't like that. I don't like seeing women being, like, all about the sex part of it.
Exactly. This is wrestling. This is wrestling, and
exactly.
You're supposed to be out there wrestling, not necessarily, you know, going out there in the skimpiest of outfits.
Yes.
To, you know, show off. How can I word this? To show off your goods more than actually go out
showing
there.
Your talent.
Exactly.
But I would hope that someone would book me more of the talent aspect than the looks.
Oh, yes. You know? Your matches that I've seen, I'm telling you, I've seen, like, I followed you on Twitter, and I saw the new move that you had just did recently.
Oh yeah, the Kofi Kingston SOS.
Yes, that I'm looking at it and I'm like, damn, she just dropped her dead on her head.
I'll say I just did that move like twice. That was like my second time doing it.
Yeah, you did it. You did a damn good job doing it.
Thank you.
Because you caught, because you were facing Nicole, right?
Yes, I was.
And you caught her and you just flipped her and just dropped her, and I'm like, damn.
It looked pretty. It looked like I totally just like drilled her head in.
Yes, you did. It did look like that. But you know, it's karma for giving you that battle scar from the ladder.
Exactly, that was payback.
Because, like, I'm watching that, back to that TLC match. I'm watching that match, and I'm thinking, all right, she just got drilled from the top of the ladder through a table. But you had enough wherewithal to get up and spear her through another table for the victory.
Yep.
And I give you nothing but respect for that match. That was a hard-fought match, and you pulled out one outstanding victory.
Thank you. I tried. It was hard to get up from that. It took the breath out of me, I'll tell you that.
Oh, I can only imagine. Because that looked...
It was pretty rough. Like I said, I wasn't expecting that. You know, I was expecting her to go in the middle and just jump off that. But no, she went up and beyond and jumped off a 40-foot ladder. And I gotta admit, if anyone has not seen that match at all, I think you should go check it out. Probably the best match I've ever had.
That answers my next question. I was gonna ask you what you think your best match was.
It was that one.
So, what has been some of your biggest obstacles in becoming a professional wrestler?
Oh man, I guess the hardest thing to really get started with. That's a really hard question. I guess it's kind of hard to find a company that would be willing to take girls. Because there's a lot of companies that just won't do it. Sad enough, like whenever I started, there was just no one that would really do it. Reborn, at the time, they had a division, but there weren't really a lot of girls on there. So I was very lucky enough to get that. But whenever I was like 13 was because of my age. Because here in Tennessee, you have to be a certain age to be in there.
Yep.
And that was the one hard thing. And the second one is because a lot of people just wouldn't take females at all. So I think that was probably the obstacle that really kind of slowed things down a little bit. The fact that they just didn't really respect the women at that time.
So do you find it harder? Do you find it more difficult being, other than getting booked, but more backstage? Do you find it more harder being a woman in a male-dominated sport than a male would?
Yeah, I do. I mean, the guys that I work with, they're really good guys. They don't really go out of their way, you know. I think the fans do a little bit, but I think that it is a little bit difficult. I mean, I get kind of like uncomfortable off sometimes. Cause I'm like, oh man, I don't want to be the girl in the back that, it's hard to explain. I'm tongue twisted. I think as a female, you want to be seen as a wrestler like the guys. Not just a girl in the back that has the butt and, you know, the looks. I want to be like one of the guys. You know? I don't want to look seen any different. If that makes sense.
It does. Because, like, being a woman, like we were talking about earlier, it's more eye candy than in-ring talent. And you'd rather be shown for your in-ring talent than eye candy.
Yes, exactly. Because when I first got into this, I did not want to be seen as eye candy. I wanted people to see me as a competitor, as someone that has the talent and has the heart for it. Not the other things. You know, that's more important to me than the looks.
Yes, I agree. You've you started at age 11, and you said you're 18 now.
Yep, just graduated high school.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
You show that you've put a solid 7 years into this craft, and you're only going to get better as time progresses.
Yes. Well, I hope so. That's what I strive for. I have like big goals for a lot of things, and hope I can make it far as I can, or as life can take me.
So let's talk about the future.
Mm-hmm.
What do you consider? Where would you like to see yourself in 5 years?
In 5 years? Well, I don't know if it would happen, but I would really like to see myself somewhat trying to go to NXT. That's the main goal of mine, to make it to that. I don't see it doing it in 5 years, but that's something that I'm striving for, and I hope that that's my big dream. That is my goal. That is the dream. If it's 5 years, 10 years, 20, I don't care. That's the goal that I'm shooting for a very long time.
Would you rather be in NXT and stay in NXT throughout your WWE career, or would you like to go to NXT then move up to the main roster?
I would like to go to NXT and go on the main roster. I think that NXT and main roster. Because I think the main roster, NXT is a great brand. I love it. But I think that, like, NXT is, it's kind of like how I see NXT. Johnny Gargano went up there for NGW.
Mm-hmm.
And he was explaining to us kind of like the NXT life. He was pretty much telling us that NXT is like, it's kind of like an independent thing, but on a greater scale. It's like independent, but they have more of the, production and all that. It's like working for that. I think that's kind of stepping you up to do the main roster, which I would like to do the main roster stuff. It's just the crowd, especially wrestling for like WrestleMania or whatever.
Yep.
That'd be amazing.
So let's take a look at WWE right now.
Mm-hmm.
Are you a fan of the new Women's Revolution?
I am. I love Charlotte. I love, Sasha Banks, Becky Lynch. I love how they're doing this whole Divas Revolution thing. I love it.
Are you more of a fan of the phrase diva or woman?
Woman. That's why I like that. I kind of like that they got rid of the Divas title and put it as the Women's Championship.
Yep.
Because I just think that makes it mean something more than the word diva. I just like the word woman better because I think it's more of like a respect thing.
I agree. Because diva is just... Divas...
I think of a diva as like a snooty.
I can see that.
I don't know. I always think like, have you ever heard like the phrase like, quit being such a diva?
Yep.
That's what I think of it. I'm like, I don't see it as like, competing like wrestling thing. I don't know. I think women is a better term for wrestling.
I agree because, like, for me, that belt, that Divas title, was the ugliest belt I've seen in a long time.
It was.
It just...
I did not like it.
And the fact that they're giving a lot of respect to the women because they gave the women essentially the world heavyweight title, just white.
Yeah. And it looks great.
It does.
I think it looks fantastic. I love it.
With the whole brand split coming, do you think there should be 2 separate women's titles?
I don't. I think they should just keep the one. They could kind of like switch it off to the both brands, even if they split it.
Yep.
I think they could make that work. Have have the women go on to like SmackDown or have it on Raw. They should do it like I think they could be able to do it. I don't want to see 2 different titles. I think they should just keep the one.
So let's put you in WWE right now. who would be your dream matches right now?
In the business right now?
Yep, of the current roster.
I would love to have I think I would like to have a match with either Paige or Natalia.
Why those two?
Yeah. I think I would like to go, or heck, if Maurice is back, isn't she?
I believe so. I think she came back with The Miz.
Well, heck, if she ever gets competing again, I would like to have a match with her, too. I'm a huge Maurice fan. I'm happy she came back. Probably those three. Because I idolize those three.
Who would you say... Okay, so let's take the current roster out of it. Let's go with former women's wrestlers. Who would you like to see yourself in a match with, if it could happen?
If it could happen. Let's see. Either Ivory. Of course, Trish or Lita. I have to go with them. Let's see. Trish or Lita. Molly Holly. I believe it or not, I was a huge fan of her. There's so many. That's probably right now, on the top of my head, those people.
You see, Ivory is a very underrated women's wrestler.
She is. I thought she was great.
Oh, she was fantastic. She held the title multiple times. Mm-hmm. But especially when they put her in the right to censor, it killed her career.
It did. I loved her ring work. I thought she was fantastic. I just like what you were saying. I wish they just did more with her. I think she could have been so much potential.
So when you're in the ring, who do you style yourself after?
It's a little mixture of, let's see, I do kind of like the spin kick thing, which I think Summer Rae does that. A lot of people do that. I do Kelly Kelly's, she used to call it the K2. Remember that? It's kind of like a famouser.
Yeah, where you hold the arm up and...
Yeah.
Yep.
I do that. I do a lot of stuff. Like, I do a lot of male stuff, too. I like the whole Kofi Kingston thing. It's a little mixture of that type of stuff. More of, like, the technical people. I mean, I will do my little suicide dives and, like, my crossbodies and stuff. Don't get me wrong. I do that stuff. But more of anyone that's, like, your technical workers. That's, like, my style. Almost.
You're more of a mat technician more than a high flyer.
Yes.
So let's go back to this Nicole Stratton feud that you have going on. How did it start?
It started back in about like January of beginning of the year. We were booked up in NGW for the first time. That's where me and her ever faced each other. And it was just never ending. Like, she beat me in a very dirty way, using Lenny Stratton as a distraction for her. And that's where it all started. It's just by that point, and like every time she always finds a way to get the cheat win out of it. I always get screwed out of it. And it's like a never-ending thing. And like I said, it all started from NGW back at like January, beginning of the year.
You see,
I don't think it's ever going to end.
It will end because you're going to go and snatch the title from her. And
that's where it all going to end.
And then the rivalry will heat up again because then she's going to want her rematch. But
she'll find a way saying that I cheated to win and all that. She'll find a way. Where she gets the title picture again.
The one thing I can say is you are super over with the crowds. Every match I've seen has had the crowd screaming your name. So you are super over with the crowds. They love you.
I'm glad they do, because if it wasn't for them, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing at all. So I'm glad that like they do me, like they love me so much, and I love them as the same.
So let's go back to your first match again. How was the crowd reaction in your first match when you came out? Were they happy? Were they cheering for you when you first came out of the curtain, or was it crickets because nobody's ever really heard of you?
The first ever match I've ever had.
Yep.
I was actually a heel at that point, so I got booed because I started out as a manager at first, and and then I had my first match, and they hated me. But then after the fact, they cheered me. If that, it's kind of the thing. They cheered me after everything. The match came back the next month, cheered me, and I didn't understand why. At that point, I was like, why? But like, I was being such a mean person, and now you're cheering me. I don't get it. But now I know, like, wherever I go, it's just the thing of people cheer for me, and it's like an overwhelming feeling, and I love every minute of it.
Do you still get goosebumps when you hear them screaming your name?
I do. I have, like, the biggest smile on my face every freaking time. I love it. Even, like, whenever sometimes, back at the TLC match, I had that my theme song hit, and I got, like, people were, like, already cheering for it. I had goosebumps literally up and down, like, everywhere. And it's like Michigan when I walked out. They cheered. I had goosebumps in Michigan. Everywhere I go, I come out, it's just chills everywhere, and I just soak it in, and I smile big. Every time. I can't get enough.
So, do you miss being a heel?
No. I don't. I don't like being mean to little kids. I hate it. I hate every minute of it. It's like when I was healing for that short period of time, my sister was in the crowd, right?
Yeah.
And no one knows that she's my sister, so she was like 3 at the time. So she comes up and like, "Oh, sissy," I had to like completely just shun her. And it killed me.
Oh.
I was like, it killed in her face. I had to deal with it when I got home. She wouldn't talk to me when I got home. And she just like, I was like, "I love you," and she's like, "No," and just like completely ran away from me, like I was the worst person in the world.
How long did it take for her to, to come back around?
When I had food, literally. I had food, she came back, I was like, okay, we're good. It's like, you are my sister because I do the exact same thing, so. Get food in the hand, I love you again.
So, before I let you go, can you tell me some fun road stories? You've been to multiple states.
Stories? Road stories. Well, let's just say it was up in Michigan. I was riding with a few friends of mine, and there's this thing where you cannot fall asleep. You can't. Don't ever fall asleep on a road trip, because I was the one. Everyone else was awake, and I was asleep, and all of a sudden I hear this. They were all just did this horrible scream. I thought we were about to die. I was like, how am I going to explain this? They all screamed and everything. The first instinct I had was to throw my phone. Like I said, and then, like I said, don't ever fall asleep. I know there's a lot of people that have worse stories than like that, but that was probably the funniest and horrifying moment I've ever had on a road trip. I came in thinking I almost died, because I'd never been out of state more than like 9 hours. So, like I said, don't ever fall asleep. You might regret it later.
So, once again, Miss Fererra, I want to say thank you. This was a great interview, and I hope that after you win your title, I can have you back on the show to boast about how much you're happy that you won your title.
Oh yeah, I'll be tickled to death. I really appreciate you for having me on here. It's a complete honor being the first ever female on here.
Yes, you are the very first female wrestler I've had on the show.
That makes me happy. You made my night.
And you have made mine. This was a complete honor of mine. I watched, like I told you, I watched your matches earlier, and you have a new fan over here, so.
Oh, thank you so much.
Not a problem.